Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Veterans Day ceremony at Hodges University. My name is Ashton Davis, and I serve as a school certifying official for the Dr. Peter Thomas Veterans Service Center at Hodges University. I will be the narrator for today's ceremony. Today, we recognize our Army, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Navy, veterans who have sacrificed both in war and in peace to protect America and the American way of life. We are here to honor our brave men and women who have proudly served this great nation, for they are the fabric from which our flag have been woven. Please stand for Gulf Coast High School Gerald T.C. Color Guard as they post the colors and lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, Sarah Connell will come to the stage and sing the national anthem. Sarah is the wife of Hodges University student, veteran Nolan Connell.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Sarah. Deacon Ed McCarthy will come forward for the invocation.
I guess it should be a case, I'd say, reporting for duty. Specialist 4th Class Ed McCarthy, 2nd Medium Tank Battalion, 68th Army, 8th Infantry Division, APO 34, bomb holder, Germany. All right. Let us bring ourselves into the presence of a good and gracious God. Today we remember with gratitude all of those countless people whose lives have been given for the good of this nation, both in times of war and in times of peace. And so we pray, gracious God, who invites all who are heavenly burdened to come to you, to bless all the people in this land and those lives, along with Lady Liberty that say, bring me your tired and your poor. And so with gratefulness for those witnesses of care, we give thanks and pray, God bless America, the land that we love. In spirit of wisdom, whose insight is freely given, give our leaders and our nations people to discern and to remove the oppression of our own people and all peoples. We ask that true liberty and justice for all will come soon in our land as we pray, God bless America, land that we love. And God of our ancestors in this land, God of all nations and peoples, God who still calls us to be agents of liberty and justice for all, we thank you for the service all who have died defending the ideals of this nation. And with gratefulness we pray, God bless America, the land that we love.
Thank you, Deacon McCarthy. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. It is a pleasure to gather together as a community and honor our veterans. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Don Worthen, President of Hodges University, and all the students, staff, and faculty who took the time out of their busy day to stop and pay tribute to the United States military veterans. Let us take a moment to honor those gathered in this room who have served or are serving in the armed forces. Would all service members and veterans who are able please stand? Thank you. We would also like to recognize the sacrifices made by their family members. Would the family members please stand to be appreciated? Thank you. Each individual with us here today is a patriot, and it is an honor to be gathered together to pay tribute to Veterans Day. Please allow me to share a brief history of Veterans Day. Armistice Day is commemorated every day on 11 November to mark armistice signed between the Allies of World War I and Germany at Companion, France, for the cessation of hostilities on the Western Front of World War I, which took effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. 1 year later, in November 1919, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed November 11th as the first Armistice Day with the following words: "To us in America, the reflection of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with the gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing from which it has freed us and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with peace and justice in the Council of the Nations." On June 4th, 1926, Congress passed a resolution that the recurring anniversary, November 11th, 1918, should be commemorated with exercises designed to perpetuate peace through goodwill and mutual understanding between nations, and that the President should issue an annual proclamation calling for the observation of Armistice Day. On May 3rd, 1938, Armistice Day became a national holiday. On June 1st, 1954, President Eisenhower signed legislation changing the name of the legal holiday from Armistice Day to Veterans Day. Today, veterans pay tribute to all American veterans, but especially gives thanks to the living veterans who served their country honorably during war or peacetime. At this time, I would like to introduce to you our guest speaker for today's ceremony, Mr. Dale Mullen. Mr. Dale Mullen is an Army veteran who served in Vietnam. Originally from Kansas, he became a full-time resident in Naples in 2006. He is married to Marie Elena Mullen. They have 3 beautiful children and 4 beautiful grandchildren. Mr. Mullen is a retired executive who continues to be an active member of the community. He serves on the School Advisory Committee for Veterans Elementary School in Naples. Additionally, he is a founder and president of Wounded Warriors Collier County Incorporated, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Over the past 6 years, his organization has raised over $725,000 for veterans. Mr. Mullen and his organization have been extremely supportive of our student veterans and of the Dr. Peter Thomas Veterans Service Center. Please join me in giving Mr. Mullen a warm welcome.
You know, one of the things you forgot to mention today, do we have any Marines in the audience? And what is today? 142 years. The Marine Corps, huh? Being an Army guy, we wouldn't know. We're not on that one. But anyway, happy birthday. And all the veterans here today, I think there was probably looked like around 15 people that stood up. Welcome home, and thank you for your service. You know, those two words are meaningful words, and being a Vietnam veteran, we didn't hear that. And I think today it's even more important as you see a veteran, particularly these young men and women today going over to serve, is say that to them, because you don't know how important just those words are. I can tell you, you'll never know unless you're a veteran. You know, our veterans today only make up 1% of our population. And you think about that, only 1%, and it's all volunteer. And we, as a nation, should always be continually grateful for that 1%. I was over today at Collier's public school over here, Veterans Memorial Grade School over here in Livingston. And it was at a ceremony, and they have every year, and my granddaughter goes to school over there, and I have attended those events over there for about the last, well, she's in the 4th grade, so I've been over there for 5 years. I just was over there this morning at 9 o'clock. And they have 800 children over there, students, a little over 800 students. And every Veterans Day, they all dress up. Most of every one of them is in red, white, and blue. And for us veterans who are there, they invite to see those small children stand, say the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States, and to sing the national anthem. There's hardly a dry eye of any veteran that's there, because they give us hope that our service that we gave to this country, and future veterans give to this country, who fight for the freedom that we have today, and the right to go to school, just the right to go to school. For not only those kids, but those girls to be able to go to school. Someone, somewhere in this world, in that 1%, that stood up and volunteered to serve this nation for our freedom and to stand between us and evil in the world. Now, 51 years ago, I went to Vietnam. Now, I did volunteer, and I can tell you, the night before I went, got on that plane to go, I cried a few tears because I didn't know whether I was going to come back to my family or whether I was going to come back to this country. But I didn't regret that I was going, because there are a few in this country who will always continue to serve. And you know, that service doesn't end when you get out. And those of you who are veterans in this room, and particularly students, it doesn't end when you get out of service. That's why today, which was about 7 years ago, I started an organization called Wounded Warriors of Collier County. And the reason I started that organization was because the situation today, these veterans are coming home in today, is like no other war. They have so many invisible wounds of war that we didn't have to the extent that these veterans have today. There's probably over close to 1 million of them that suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. And it's unprecedented in the history of our military that we have such a high percentage of our veterans serving that have been in service and are coming home with these injuries, these invisible wounds of war. And you don't see them when you see them. If you saw, I've got my sister's, her grandsons by marriage. You'd look at him, and he served in Iraq, and you wouldn't even know. He looks like he's in the Marine Corps. He looks just like a Marine still today, like most Marines do. Beautiful statues, strong-looking men. He can't even write a check. He suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. He can't even do as much as write a check today. He requires full service. He doesn't even, a caregiver can't hardly get out of his room, okay? And he's not even 30 years old. The price that only these veterans pay when they come home today, and their families that have to pay to help take care of them, is why I started Wounded Warriors of Collier County and give back and raise money to help these young veterans today that, you know, during my time, wasn't even, I never heard of such a thing. I never heard of anybody really caring about veterans, thinking about them and caring and serving and helping them. And I can tell you that it's important that no generation, even these generations today and future generations, Americans, shouldn't come home to a grateful nation that continues to understand and recognize their service, because it's a lot to pay, and it is something that they did willingly. Dr. Hodges, who served in the Marine Corps, in the Coast, in the Merchant Marines, and also he served in World War II. He was called back, not in World War II, and then he served in Korea. And he was called back to serve for 2 years in Korea to set up the Army Graves Restoration Unit, which was the first one that was ever really setting up a unit that would register the soldiers, and I shouldn't say soldiers, but all veterans coming home that are in a flag-draped casket. So he, and you can see today, this university is after his name, and the work that they've done here continues to serve. And I would tell you students that are in this room today, they're still going to school, stay in school, because I went to school on the GI Bill, 4 years, needed help, and we're raising money to help you continue to go to school. Stay in school, get your education, and someday that you can continue to serve those who have served you. So thank you very much today.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. Hodges University goes to great lengths to ensure our veterans are supported as they transition from military to civilian life. We are honored to serve our student veterans, service members, and dependents currently attending Hodges University. Please welcome student veterans and members of American Legion Post 397, Nolan Cannell, Sean Tran, and Matt Gary as they come forward to pay tribute to Old Glory and what she represents.
For more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag presented before you today. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the original 13 colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardness and valor. White signifies purity and innocence. Blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally, a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July of 1969, the American flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong planted it on the surface of the moon. Today, our flag flies on constellations of military satellites that circle our globe, and on the fin flash of our aircraft in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every service member who serves our great nation. The sun never sets on our military, nor on the flag we so proudly cherish. Since 1776, no generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today, service members remain committed to preventing the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show the respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought, continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, service members have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict in lands and skies around the world. It is their responsibility, and it's our responsibility, to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we, as Americans, enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it wave.
We thank you, Nolan, Sean, and Matt, for your service to our country and to the Hodges University community. At this time, I would like to call Mr. Mullen back on stage, along with Dr. Worthen, president of Hodges University.
I'm going to take just a moment to read a poem that I think captures some of the emotions that we've all felt today. The poem was written in 1917, and I think we all know what was happening then. The world was embroiled in war, 1 year away from victory. This poem was written by James Weldon Johnson, a Floridian, a national leader in the NAACP movement, and an esteemed poet and author. You may know it as a hymn. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise, high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of faith that the dark past has taught us. sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun and our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Dale, if I could, it is with immense gratitude that I present this award to you. And if I could, and my eyesight is not good, and these are the wrong glasses, but I think it says something like the following. Dale, thank you for your support and devotion for our student veterans and all that you have done through Wounded Warriors. This is presented to you from Hodges University as recognition. Thank you so much. 2017, 100 more years, 1,000 more years together. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the retiring of the colors by the Gulf Coast High School JROTC Color Guard. Please be seated. Before we conclude our ceremony, Dr. Peter Thomas Veterans Center would like to direct you to the photographs we have exhibited back on the wall back there today. Photographs, Ed Callahan captured the D-Day landing sites, and they look back 60 years. This collection of photographs were donated to Hodges University by the family of Mr. Anthony Dearmore, Sr. Mr. Dearmore saw action during Normandy invasion and was awarded the Bronze Star and 2 Purple Hearts. The collection also contains the map of Europe showing the markings made by Mr. Dearmore of his travels through the area. After his military career, he dedicated his life to education and was a dedicated member of Hodges University faculty for over 20 years. In addition, we are co-hosting Mr. Andrew Carroll and his Million Letters campaign next Tuesday in this same room. He founded the Legacy Project, which honors veterans and active duty troops by preserving their wartime correspondence. Mr. Carroll has traveled to over 50 states and more than 40 countries, including Iraq and Afghanistan. He has collected to date an estimated 100,000 previously unpublished letters and emails. There are flyers on the tables with more information on this event, which is open to the public. Thank you again for taking the time to pay tribute to American veterans. With that, we conclude today's ceremony. Please help yourself to refreshments and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you. Thank you.